The 7th generation of gaming is without a doubt peak online multiplayer. Regardless of what platform you chose back then, chances are you dabbled with online multiplayer at one point. Many game series like Call of Duty became household names thanks in part to the push for online connectivity. When the PlayStation 3 launched in November of 2006, one of the main selling points for the PlayStation Triple was that Sony didn't charge its users to play online multiplayer, unlike Microsoft, who paywalled online multiplayer for its Xbox Live Gold service. Despite this console being 2 generations behind, the legacy of the PlayStation 3 is still being felt today and even played, with hundreds of players still logging in daily to relive memories of a bygone era. So why are people still playing PlayStation 3 online in 2023, and what does the future hold for the PlayStation 3 going into 2024? Well, today I'm going to attempt to answer this and show why this community is still going strong 17 years later. Starting with reason number 1, the variety of PlayStation 3 games that supported online multiplayer. The 7th generation era of gaming truly embraced online multiplayer on home consoles, and became one of the most crucial elements to both the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. Thanks to Sony's diverse first-party exclusives, there's something for everyone, ranging from first-person shooters, third-person tactical shooters, racing games, creative and original titles, as well as large-scale multiplayer experiences. The PlayStation 3 also had a strong third-party lineup. This, of course, included games like Call of Duty, Battlefield, Rainbow Six, Need for Speed, the Resident Evil games, and Grand Theft Auto 4 and Red Dead Redemption. Mix that in with multiplayer not being stuck behind a paywall, then it's not a surprise that this console still has plenty of life left in it. The PlayStation 3 was also one of the first home consoles to embrace cross-platform gaming, a feature that we take for granted today, but it was very rare during the 7th generation era of gaming. You had titles like Dragon's Crown or Helldivers that offered players the ability to play with PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and the PlayStation Vita. Also, let me know in the comments down below what your favorite PlayStation 3 game was to play online, or what PlayStation 3 game you're currently playing online in 2023. Reason number 2. Accessibility. Sony sold millions of PlayStation 3s, which helps nowadays as you can still find them for reasonable costs. If you are lucky, you can generally still grab one with full hookups and a few games for under $150. If you're tech savvy, you can also install an external hard drive, run the hen exploit, which allows you to back up your games onto external hard drive and play them directly without needing the disc. Thanks to the console's low cost of entry, plus the free online multiplayer, it really makes it worth the hassle and finding a PlayStation 3 in good shape. If you prefer to purchase your games digitally, you can still do so on the PlayStation Store. Sony did try to shut down the PlayStation Store 2 years ago, but fans made such a big enough noise that they ended up reversing this decision. Now, they are going to shut down the store eventually, rather we just bought some time in between, so if you do plan to buy games digitally, now is the time to do so. Now, being able to save a few dollars isn't the only accessible thing about the PlayStation 3, rather that many games on this platform use the same control scheme as modern video games do, meaning if you become accustomed to playing first-person shooters, third-person shooters, racing games on a PS4 or PS5 controller, going to the PlayStation 3 controller feels very familiar and easy to pick up and play as a result, as many of the control schemes remain the same. In comparison, during the PlayStation 2 era, many games didn't have this luxury as developers were still trying to figure out how to map controls to 2 thumbsticks properly. The PlayStation Network is also very intuitive and easy to use. The XMB has everything laid out logically and easy to find, with features you come to expect with most online gaming services, such as the ability to send messages to other users, friends list, trophies, the ability to invite others to games, and private chat. It did lack a party chat system found on the Xbox 360, but all things considered, the PSN still holds up well for a 17-year-old online system. Reason number 3, nostalgia. Nostalgia is a powerful tool. Companies have been milking this to sell us things ever since the dawn of time, and the video game industry is no different when it comes to nostalgia. Publishers nowadays use this as a tool to lure you into the promise of return to the former glory days of gaming when nothing else mattered in the world outside of you, the controller, and your television screen. Sometimes this works out great, remastering or remaking a classic game just to bring back the warm fuzzy feeling you once had with that title, or it can be used to sell you the same game that released 1 year prior. You used to be able to walk into a game store, pick up a game based on the developer's reputation alone, knowing that you're going to get a quality quality release without needing to look up a Metacritic score or watching an IGN review or any of that matter. That seal of promise existed in this era, and it's one of the reasons we still gravitate towards older games nowadays, as many developers who once had that title no longer can carry this. Some of my favorite PlayStation 3 memories were the countless hours spent trying to beat my personal record in zombies, to sweating my balls off with the anxiety-inducing Last of Us Faction multiplayer mode. There's simply no shortage of how many great PlayStation 3 memories that we all have, and I think this plays a big factor in bringing people back to online. In 2007 alone, we had games like Uncharted 1, Halo 3, Mass Effect, BioShock, and Call of Duty 4, games to this day that still stand to the test of time. That's not even taking account for all the other phenomenal games that released years after during this era. We simply don't have this sort of hype and quality control in AAA gaming nowadays. There's something uncanny about this console that draws me back despite playing many of these games for countless of hours for the past few years. Is it the overall quality of many of its online titles, or it could be the fact I've gotten older and become more reminiscent of better times. Regardless, the PlayStation 3 online multiplayer is just as great as it was in its prime and still holds up well even to today's standards. Reason number 4, community. This console wouldn't be anything if it wasn't for the community surrounding it. This includes people who huddle around various PlayStation 3 Discord channels, setting up matches, or simply to speak to others who share the same love and passion for the PS Triple. Now, I've made few videos covering this community and the most actively played PlayStation 3 games, and despite thinking I covered every single PlayStation 3 game that has people playing them still, I still get comments to this day telling me that there's other player bases on additional PlayStation 3 games that I totally forgot about. It just goes to show how deep and active this system still truly is. Even if the port for the PlayStation 3 game is bad or rough, you still will find one or a few other players playing them. A great example of this was Team Fortress 2 on the PlayStation 3, considered by many as the absolute worst way to play this game. Up to its server shutdown this year, it still pulled in a solid player population that kept this game alive. It's worth mentioning that Team Fortress 2 on the PlayStation 3 was a time capsule from 2007, and considering that the PC version of TF2 has gone for so much changes, it kind of makes sense why the PlayStation 3 version was still active, but it just goes to show that even if the port is inferior, it still isn't enough from stopping people from enjoying and playing that game. For this video, I wanted to include both myself and the community for their reasons on why they still play the PlayStation 3 online in 2023. In order to gauge this, I asked both my community on YouTube and the PlayStation 3 Online and LAN Discord channel. On YouTube, I made a poll with 3 options, all 3 being free online multiplayer, people being tired of modern AAA gaming, and lack of microtransactions. Out of the 775 people who voted, 62% voted for free online multiplayer, 31% voted for being tired of modern AAA gaming, and 8% voted for the lack of microtransactions. This post also got a lot of people commenting, given their own reasons as well. This includes things as people growing up and wanting to revisit the console again, frustration and feelings of being taken advantage of in the current gaming climate, to completing a backlog of games still on the PlayStation 3. On Discord, the feedback provided ranged from wanting to revisit the PlayStation 3 era, frustration with modern AAA gaming, to the fact that games were complete and not broken at launch. Another aspect of this community is the teams surrounding server revivals. Many PlayStation 3 games have had their servers shut down over the past few years, but a lot of them have been brought back thanks to the hard work and dedication of these teams. I'm talking about teams like PlayStation Rewired, 3TA, PlayStation Org, Save MGO, LittleBigPlanet Union, and most recently, GTA OG have revived existing games back to their former state, allowing you and I to revisit them again at no additional cost. The amount of work that goes into reverse engineering shutdown servers, as well as the lack of documentation and resources, and that each game works differently, is a daunting and quite honestly difficult challenge. So massive respect to the teams who are able to pull it off, as it's truly a passion-driven project. Reason number 6. Unique multiplayer games. Multiplayer games in 2023 tend to follow a proven, profit-driven model that works in the publisher's favor first and the gamers last. Studios are chasing less creative endeavors and taking less risks, at least within the AAA industry. With the advent of battle passes, cosmetics, in-game currency, booster packs, you name it, has left a sour taste for many gamers. What made Sony's third home console stand out among the crowd was its diverse and unique multiplayer options. Take for instance the 2012 game Journey, which was a cooperative third-person action-adventure game where you simply go on a journey throughout an expanding desert. The main objective in Journey is to navigate through a massive desert in order to reach the mountain seen by the player far away in the distance. Along the way, the game will randomly connect other players to your lobby without even telling you. This normally comes in the form of them randomly appearing on screen out of the blue, while removing any means of communication traditionally. Instead, the game uses its own communication system and relies on players to use nonverbal behaviors in order to talk to each other. What made this experience unique among the flood of other cooperative games at the time is that everyone's playthrough of Journey was different. The players that you come across not only could help assist you with traversing the world, but in many cases could help or provide companionship in completing the game together. Nowadays, Journey is on PC, but this is hands down one of the most beautiful online games on the PlayStation 3 and showed that video games as a medium can convey various emotions without even saying a single word. Now that's just one example of many other different online experiences that can be had on the PlayStation 3. You also had other interesting multiplayer games like Mag, which was a first-person shooter MMO that supported up to 256 players on one single match, something unheard of on a home console way back in 2010. Or games like Warhawk, that was basically a third-person battlefield game that holds up well even to this day. Then you had creative multiplayer games like the LittleBigPlanet series, which offer you the tools to build your own levels, inspire your creativity, share those levels among the community of other players, in which could download your creation and play them together in co-op. You also had some really oddball ones like God of War Ascension, which basically took the combat of God of War and made it work in a PvP format. Simply put it, the PlayStation 3 is no stranger to engaging original multiplayer games. This shouldn't be a surprise to you, but we're moving into a fully digital era, where Sony and Microsoft are pushing existing users into ditching physical media and fully embracing digital content. As the time goes, eventually Sony will pull the plugs on the PSN servers for the PlayStation 3. This as a result wouldn't kill all the online services on PSN, but it also would mean that a lot of PSN games will be gone forever. As much as I love having to go back to the legacy days to play online on the PlayStation 3, Sony's decision not to make this console backwards compatible or offer any sort of solution akin to what Microsoft has done with the 360 is really disappointing to say at least. Listen, the PlayStation 3 is not going to be online forever. As a matter of fact, we're on borrowed time at this point. If you wanted to revisit or even join in for the first time, now is the time to do so. Sony has been very generous to keep it up for 17 years so far, but that clock is definitely ticking. When Sony does pull the plug on the PlayStation 3 servers, the PS3 of course will still work offline, which isn't necessarily a loss, but a lot of what made the PlayStation 3 so special will the day the PlayStation 3 servers shut down. I hope this video convinces you to dig out your PlayStation 3 or consider purchasing one to revisit its online multiplayer again. I've been playing this console daily for over 2 years now, and I spend more time playing it than I do my PS5. Because at the end of the day, graphics, tech, or any fancy selling point for a game doesn't matter if the game itself isn't fun. I'm a firm believer that gameplay over graphics any day of the week. I couldn't care less if the game's running at 4K or 144p. Anyways, thank you for watching my video, guys. I plan on doing a video covering the 10-year anniversary on the PlayStation 4 later in November, with some other tutorials coming out to better help the community. If you enjoy my style or content, please consider leaving a like or even a subscription. It really means a lot. Until next time, fellas, peace.